Because it's the hardest part of the ring. Hey, it's the hardest part of the ring. Now, sometimes you go over that top rope and you bang your head on the ring apron. Why do you do that? That's when you feel like a big dopey dummy. The worst bumps you can be taking. Oh, it's the hardest part of the ring. The hardest part of the ring. Sometimes you reach out for that hot tag, but then you go ahead and make your own comeback to do it twice here. That's when you should quit wrestling, and you're better off rolling in thumbtacks. AEW, the hardest part of the ring. The hardest part of the ring. One more. Sometimes you're distracting that referee, but the babyface has your wrestler pinned. Then you get punched to the ring apron, and you realize all the trouble you're in when it's the hardest part of the ring. The hardest part of the ring. Ba-da-ba-da. Hey, it's the Double Crap Bob Squad. What do you say? What do you know? Tip the veal, try the waitress. Episode 115. I don't know. I think I messed up the claps. Hopefully you didn't notice, because it's the hardest part of the ring. The hardest part of the ring. Ba-da-ba-da. Whoa! Yay! What is going on, Bob Squad? Bushwhacking our way through another episode of the hardest part of the ring. Monday Night Raw on Hulu. How? Not who. The question is how do we answer this historic AEW pay-per-view people are still talking about at the time of this recording? It's been over for almost 48 hours. How does WWE fire back? Excuse me, I belched. They don't. They don't at all. They don't acknowledge it. I mean, obviously they're not going to acknowledge it, but you'd think there'd be something big, something to get your attention, something to keep the conversation back. They don't care. They don't care. They're going to make money anyway. Listen, WWE is not going out of business because Daniel Bryan, Adam Cole, and CM Punk and Ruby Soho showed up, and yet they're not going to go out of business tomorrow because Daniel Bryan said hello. You don't go out of business until you lose a lot of money and have a lot of debt. And I think they're making a lot of money, so doesn't mean shit's not going to be interesting. Because unlike most that's what WWE has in common with most companies, big and small. What they don't have in common with companies big and small is that they're fucking bananas. And it's run by someone who's bananas, more importantly. So, never a dull moment. Just a lot of really, unless you're watching the television show. Okay. How does Raw open on Hulu with limited commercial interruption? You're not going to believe this. But Hulk Hogan, he wasn't there. They just showed footage of him slamming Andre the Giant, who was also not there. So, 7 teams or 6 teams look at the camera and they say things. And then RK Bro, Riddle, and Randy Orton come to the ring and they have microphones and they also say words of the English language. And those words were something about Randy Orton and carbs and stuff and munchies and alluding to the fact that they both smoke marijuana. Okay, because they're hip with the kids. Bobby Lashley and MVP come to the ring and they have microphones and say words as well. And Lashley does not appreciate Randy Orton very much and wants to wrestle him. Well, that's nice to know. And the New Day come to the ring and they had microphones as well. How about that? Did you know that? And they also said words. They also said words. I don't remember what the words were. I just watched this 2 hours ago. But the New Day had things to say. They went to a commercial break, and the New Day are wrestling the Vikings. Well, there you go. So the idea, the thing is, so 2 tag teams wrestle. When one team loses, they go away, and then another tag team takes their place. So really, if you're first of these 6 or 7 teams, if you're first or second, I guess, things really suck. And if you're last, you have a great advantage. So the winners of these things, whoever the winner will be, almost always beats a very beaten and fallen team. Somehow that makes you the best. We don't know. It also exposes a huge hole in the Royal Rumble, but for some reason we let it go. We don't know why. Because the Royal Rumble is fun. There's a countdown. And also tag teams, traditionally in WWE are mostly made of people we've been conditioned to not care about, so it's a little different. Anyway, the New Days have one of the coldest hot tags in the world before tagging Kofi. I think before tagging Woods, Kofi made, I don't know, I forget, one of them did their own mini comeback and made a hot tag. Guys, it's in the song. It's in the second verse. Let me go back, okay? Sometimes you reach out for the hot tag and you go ahead and make your own comeback. Don't do that. See, you don't. I'm fans of you guys, New Days. You need to listen to the song. They do it again in a second. So anyway, they pin the Vikings. I think Woods. So the Woods gets all the pins here. I think Woods pinned one of the Vikings somehow. I forget exactly how. It's been a while. But anyway, they got to wrestle Jinder Mahal, and they do. What happens there? I forget. Oh, Jinder and Veer wrestle the New Day, who's tired from having a long, grueling match with the Vikings, and Jinder and Veer lose. And I'm assuming I think Woods got the pin on all of them. I don't really know. We're just gonna say that. Okay, this is the same match, so I can't give this any stars because this is sort of the same match. Lucha House Party is then the third team to challenge the New Day, and Woods pins Lince Dorado. How about that? How about that? Lucha run in and they do a spot where the New Day's on the outside and Lucha does like jumps over them and does headstands on a ring apron, which, by the way, in any language, it's the hardest part of the ring. They do a double backflip onto Woods and Kofi, then they lose the match. Mason T-Bar are large. No one took them seriously. Nobody cared. And they beat the crap out of the New Day, but they lose. They get pinned, and this is where things get stupider. Mason T-Bar lose the thing and they get rolled up. So I think that's 4 teams now that New Day have already beat. So the big guys proceed to beat the crap out of the New Day because they're mad they got rolled up and surprised and pinned. Okay. It took officials 10 freaking minutes to get out there to separate the world's longest beatdown. We're depending on what the situation needs. Sometimes it takes 30 seconds. AEW is guilty of this. WWE is guilty of this. What the hell are the rules? What is the perceived protocol if this were real? Back in the day, first another couple of referees would come out. Oh, there's always 1 or 2 extra referees. They should always be laying around anyway, because in theory, if a referee gets bumped or accidentally struck by a wrestler, you would want a second referee ready. So a second official should come out right away. Then a couple of more, and then maybe some guys in suits to yell, because maybe they have some authority. And then, usually for the big, like, monster pull-aparts, if it's 2 big guys, then you send out the lower card wrestlers. But this is a thing where you would have a bunch of officials out there eventually being like, hey, get back. We can fine and suspend you. Knock it off. So they did that. It just took them 4 years to do it. So Sonya runs out, pretends she's in charge. Not the best. I'm sorry, I like Sonya, but not the best performance from her. I think she was. It just sounded very rushed and made up, and she just said, hey, no, 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 no. They always do that. Everyone who interrupts says, no, 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 or well, 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 or hey, person's name, person's name, person's name. Charlotte, Charlotte, Charlotte. A lot of the women do that for begin all their promos with that. I don't know why. Why do they all talk like that? It's almost like a small group of people who are writing for other people and telling them every word to say. We noticed. Oh, Sonya, Sonya, Sonya. She says that the turmoil tag team turmoil match will stop, and we're just going to have a regular moil, which is a rabbi that circumcisions by babies. No, he doesn't. No, he does, but that's not what happened. She said we're going to pause the tag team turmoil match. Oh, because Mansoor and Ali, who also no one cares about, ran out and tried to have a match, but also got jumped into a match, but got beat up by Mason T-Bar. Mason T-Bar sounds like one guy. No, one guy is Mace, the other guy is T-Bar. I'm not kidding. We don't know why. Anyway, so we're just going to finish this later, I guess, at some point. I don't know. And when she said give them a breather, I thought, like, go to a commercial break, whatever. No, just we'll have the match later. Sheamus and Drew McIntyre are wrestling for the 400th time. I like these guys. I like how they wrestle. I love how they wrestle. It's just too much of the same. And they're wrestling for the chance to wrestle for the U.S. Championship. Drew, who did you piss off? And then really, because Drew gets pinned, Drew loses this match. Drew McIntyre gets hooked with the tights. With the added leverage, he can't risk kicking out and having his butthole exposed. So rather than expose his butthole, he loses the U.S. Championship contender match. I don't know what the hell it's called. It's not a number one contender. We don't know that. Anyway, Drew McIntyre is very upset about having the tights hooked. Um, so he does his finisher anyway on Sheamus. He hits Sheamus in the face with Sheamus's own face protector metal thingy. And he uses his finisher, which is a big kick in the face on the guy who allegedly already has a broken nose. Planting some seeds here for Drew. Maybe something else. I carried us through COVID. This is the thanks I get, and I'm Scottish or something. I don't know. Charlotte Flair, they have a video about Charlotte Flair being great. I agreed. Then Charlotte Flair is talking to a blonde lady. She is also a blonde lady, but she's talking to another blonde lady. The two blonde ladies have a conversation. Charlotte, a great old school wrestling promo. It's 1 minute long. Knocks it out of the park. Tells you why she's the shit. Tells you why her loss didn't matter from last week. Tells you why she's gonna win again. Creates doubt that she could win this, but tells you why she's awesome at the same time. I believed every word. Nia Jax is also talking to Sarah Schreiber, who is a blonde lady, and Nia Jax said words. Charlotte wrestles Nia Jax. Really? I'm sure I said last week, and now I'm a big dumb idiot. There's no way they're at least we're done with this match. They're definitely not doing the match again. Well, they did it this week. So this isn't. Sometimes you work yourself into a shoot. Sometimes you shoot yourself into a work, and now they shoot themselves into a work. They have a work shoot. So they played off that, and they had the fisticuffs flying early, and a few people bought it, but then it got to be like not really. Charlotte took off early, came back. Shayna's there to argue with Nia, and of course they can't just beat Nia. They have to plant little things like, well, what if Nia got distracted by Shane or whatever? They just can't have. They could have Charlotte pinned clean by Nia in a giant injury-inducing, probably clusterfuck, but they can't have Nia can't just lose, right? Nia Jax is the shits. My generation will always have it's Mick Foley, Cactus Jack lost an ear in Germany in '94. But this generation will have Charlotte Flair lost a giant eyelash against Nia Jax on Monday Night Raw. The thing was hanging off her face. She rips it off. This colossal black eyelash. It looked, oh my god. It looked like the wine list of this giant fucking black eyelash. The referee actually kicked it out of the ring like it was a t-shirt or a bandana or something that fell off. He actually had to kick part of Charlotte's eye off the fucking ring, which is hilarious. We have this match. Charlotte Flair, for reasons unknown, I thought she was a bright, intelligent person. She decides to do a moonsault on someone who's not going to catch her, and lo and behold, she is not caught. Nia Jax is the classic slobby bully who doesn't like to get hit or help anyone, but loves to hit. Does not like to get hit because politically she's safe to do that. That sounds familiar, but that's why I'm sitting before you right now. The podcast talking about yesteryear. I'm talking about the present, but reliving yesteryear and how I never made it. Now I'm just some fucking asshole telling jokes, making videos with my toy, worried about my hernia. Okay, Bob, are you done? Can we get back to the contest? It's the hardest part of the ring. Charlotte has to give Nia a power bomb out of the buckle where Nia is already standing on the second buckle. I'm so glad Charlotte did not take the superplex. Of course, Nia can't go up for her at all, so it's just a glorified slam her down. It was the shits. Charlotte does some natural, so I think her natural selection move off the second or the top buckle, I forget. Hits that big roll up 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. Can we move on? And thankfully we do, because I think they'll just do Shayna and Nia. And of course, Nia will just beat Shayna 88 times from 88 ways from Sunday. Alexa, hey, she gets her feud back. Well, I can't believe I'm happy to see that, but I am. I don't know why. I think Charlotte needs something new. There is what's clearly a pre-taped thing with Alexa to a Charlotte with a live mic, because the timing is as on as it can be. I never shit on those for being not perfect on timing, because how can they be? Because you can't predict how long the audience is going to react for and when it's cool to talk again. It's kind of a, it's a crapshoot. So if there's the slightest little out of sync moment, like I forgive it. We all know this is pre-taped, and it would only be pre-taped for one reason. Alexa's there, and she is. So the lights go out, lights go on. Alexa's there. Charlotte will not be on Alexa's playground, so Alexa decides I'll come to you, and nothing really happened. But they were released in the ring together. Alexa pointed at the championship that Charlotte had on her shoulder, and I think Charlotte gave her a match. She gave her a match for either next week or whenever the Extreme Rules pay-per-view is. I really don't know which one of the two. Probably next week would make sense, so they probably didn't do it. I don't really know. I'm interested to find out. That's a match I want to see just because it's just different. Can we get Nia's not in it? I'm hard on her today, but whatever. The turmoil is back. Here comes the turmoil. Looking to circumcise the baby. Oh, Bob. That's just turmoil. This is the tag team turmoil. This guy circumcises tag teams. Okay, enough. Are you done? Are you done, Bob? Are you finished? New Day defeats Ali and Mansoor, who have some kind of issue no one cares about. Mansoor is good. Ali is bad. No one cares. AJ Styles and Omos are here, and so New Day has already beaten 5 teams, no? They beat Ali Mansoor, they beat the Vikings, they beat the Luchas, they beat Jinder and Veer, and they beat the Mason Teabag. I know what I said. They beat 5 freaking teams. I didn't know they had that many teams, because I never see them on Hulu. What didn't make, if anything happened with Doudrop and Eva Marie, that was definitely not on Hulu. If anything, I'm sure Karrion Kross beat somebody. That was not on Hulu. There was no Ricochet. There was no. I think Rhea and Nikki had a tag match of some sort, according to the internet. But whoever they wrestled, that was definitely not on Hulu. I'm just saying. I have a feeling one of our good listeners, one half of the OG Bob Squad, Mark, had a question for me. He said, "Do you think Hulu will show you the whole tag team turmoil, or just part of it?" And my answer was, actually, I think they'll show the whole thing. Maybe cut out an entrance or two, but they're going to show you the whole thing, because when it's a big angle, they just show you the whole angle, and whatever has to suffer will suffer. So, like, we'll never see a pre-tape interview for a match, and then Hulu doesn't air the match. They're really good with, keeping everything in sync. Like Hulu is its own episode in a weird way. So you're not going to see, and in turn, if you do see a match, you're not going to miss the pre-show segments related to that match. So it's almost like by the angle more than by the match or by the segment. That's the answer to that question. I had a real answer. How about that? I said a real thing. On the hardest part of the ring. What happens on the turmoil? Oh, Styles clash on Kofi. Yeah, I think Woods pinned 5 teams and Kofi took the finish, and I bet you that's no accident. Not because they're punishing Kofi or they're big on Woods. I think that's just I bet you that's just a mutual compromise, because you know how big Kofi and Big E are on helping Woods, and I would not be surprised if that was Kofi's insistence that he's like, no, I take the pin, and Woods can just do all the pins. I bet you there was some kind of Kofi raising his hand and saying, you were fighting for an hour. So before we go on to the tag team turmoil, I'll save that for the end. Because I want to say something about New Day. Okay, Lashley and MVP wrestle Styles and Omos, and this is one of those cases, I got to admit, it's one of those great on paper, bad in execution ideas, Lashley and Omos. But the people popped huge at the idea of the 2 big giants in there. And also, it's something we haven't seen yet. It's not a rematch. So they teased that, and they had a little interaction with Lashley and Omos. Lashley backed him in there and everything else. Little shenanigans, RK Bro, Randy Orton, and Riddle are ringside the entire time, and they're making faces and stuff, especially Riddle, so trying to get us through this thing. So they did do that twice, and I'm wondering if they had a ring entrance for the live crowd for the second time they had to enter to do that, which would have been very silly. But it's also silly for them to just walk out cold because they're big stars. So whatever. Anyway, what happens here? I forget. I think Lashley pinned AJ. Lashley he did a spear on AJ Styles. He pinned him, so that means next week for the Raw Championships, the Raw Tag Team Championships, RK Bro will have to defend against MVP and the reigning WWE Champion Bobby Lashley. Are we going to get that match even though it was advertised? Because now we know we can't even trust next week's advertised matches. So who knows anymore? Nobody knows. What's the point? I can't even get excited when there's an advertised match. Are they doing Alexa and Charlotte rooting for next week? For real? They say they will. Who cares? None of it matters. Oh, and there's a last minute RKO on Lashley. So I think they said they're going to do Orton and Lashley at the main event of the next pay per view in some kind of gimmick match because it's Extreme Rules. I mean, that'll be good. People care about Orton again, and there's a new dynamic to Orton's character because they love Riddle and the involvement. I don't think Orton wins it from Lashley. I think does Riddle make a mistake and cost Orton the thing? I hope not. I think it's too easy. Well, let's make Riddle the dumb one, so the same guy is the star, and the same newer star is the idiot. And feel like we've seen it. Feel like we've seen it. Interesting choice for a match. But I don't know what their other choices are. Who else is a viable contender? We know Riddle's not beating Lashley for it. Lashley's already beaten both of the New Day. There's a third New Day on another channel with a briefcase. I thought that was the easy, whatever, but nah. All right, I want to talk about New Day for a second. Let me take another sip of this Diet Pepsi. Hang on. New Day. I love you guys, you poor sons of bitches. So New Day basically wrestles like 7 matches. New Day carries the show, and it's a 3-hour show. Now on Hulu, I get a 90-minute action-packed version of WWE Raw with limited commercial interruption. Now only $6.99 a month, and you can cancel anytime you want. And I've considered it. No, but then I wouldn't have all my favorite TVs and movies, not to mention original programming like 1123 starring James Franco, and The Looming Tower starring the other guy in Dumb and Dumber. What was my point? Oh, Weekend at Bernie's is still on Hulu for free, by the way. Or if you subscribe to Hulu, it's not free. If you have the cheapest Hulu tier, you can still watch Weekend at Bernie's right now. Hulu.com. Hulu, it's TV in the palm of your hand. I think I'm done with that. New Day has to carry the show. And they gotta take a lot of bumps, and they gotta take a big beating. And if that's not bad enough, if they gotta take a half an hour, 40 minutes of torture, we're gonna let them get. And this is how you get hurt. I've gone through this in wrestling school. I've been a wrestler in a very, very small increment of what these guys do. You will almost always get hurt when you get cold and you start again. So we always knew especially when we were done bumping, we'd be there. We'd be in that school for 4 or 5 hours. When we were done bumping, and now it's been like, 10, 20 minutes goes by. The bumping part of this is done, and it was a bump school. You could listen to episode 100, you hear all about that. Once you're done bumping, you're essentially cold. So either break out that crash pad if you want to jump off the ropes and test that kind of bullshit towards the end of the class, or do some roll around with stuff, or just try to wiggle out of things or whatever the hell, little tricks on the ropes, this, that, and the other thing, or just stop. But when you're cold and you start again, you will get hurt. Now, obviously, these guys are veterans. I'm sure they weren't just backstage sitting around getting cold. I'm sure they were stretching and warming up, trying to stay warm, whatever they could to keep their muscles warm. I'm sure they were doing something without being told to. I mean, it's kind of clearly they know what they're doing 1,000 times more over than I do. But there's no way they were sitting around getting cold. Now I'm going to find out they were, which is hilarious, but I don't know how I'd find it out. So when they come back out, they get beat up. And I don't say beat up like they're not tough guys. I'm saying like they're taking bumps and they're taking offense and this, that, and the other thing, and running around and getting tired and everything else. To go back out and do it for like another half hour or whatever it was, they're going to get hurt. And that roster's not big enough for anyone to get hurt. All these rematches that we're seeing every week, it's because there's nobody on the roster. It's the 3-hour show is the least wrestlers. Why? And if Kofi's my age, I think. And Woods, I only got like 3, 4, 5 years on, something like that. If they get hurt wrestling the entire show, someone's gonna say, you can't. You know what? They're injury prone. Oh yeah, I'm sure. I can't wait. They're injury prone, right? Can't imagine how. You only have every giant beat the living shit out of them for your first and last half hour for a third of a 3-hour show. Yeah, good job. I don't like it because I don't want to see, because now, especially Kofi, he doesn't have many more like long injuries in him to come back from. He's not going to want to do this shit forever. And New Day is in a weird position where they just got to stay. They really are strongest staying together. I've said before, and I'll say it again. I don't ever want to see anyone on New Day turn on anyone else. I'm not interested in seeing that. I don't think any fan really wants to see that. It's like what makes them special is that they never did that. They never do. They've been together. It was like 2014. It's like 7 years. Yeah, 7 years. They all been together. There's no reason to ever turn them. Because believe it or not, it's at this point, it's not the faction. The turning is we wouldn't believe it if at this point if E or Woods turns or Kofi turns or whatever the hell, if any of them turn on the other ones, that's when we cried bullshit. Instead of early on when we hear that these factions they're brothers or their brotherhood, it's like a family. And we all know this is all bullshit. Like, oh, okay, these guys met each other developmentally a year ago. They're not family. Now it's the opposite. If they turn, it's bullshit. We go, no. We know those guys are family. so I wouldn't even bother doing it. I trailed off there. My point is, those guys had to carry the whole show, and for what? Because it was not their story. It was AJ and Omos and Lashley, and it was really Lashley and Omos, and then eventually Orton. It was their story tonight, which is fine, but it's just dangerous. It's just dangerous, and it's almost like you're trying to run them off. Maybe I'm a little paranoid, but because what's New Day supposed to do other than go for the tag team championships? And they're clearly not in a title picture. So they're going to feud with Mason T-Bar? Come on. I don't care how long Mason T-Bar beat down New Day without officials running out. It doesn't matter. Because nobody in that building sees Mason T-Bar close to the star level of, or the ability level, or the talent level, anywhere close to Kofi and Woods. And that's why Kofi and Woods can, like, both lose to Omos at the same time on a WrestleMania, whatever the hell. It doesn't matter. New Day is almost like Jeff Hardy and Rey Mysterio. You could actually beat them forever, and it's never going to matter. They're a bit younger than those guys, but it doesn't matter with New Day. It's like, no. People are going to believe in that New Day forever. Big E, unfortunately, his situation is different. I don't know enough about it. I generally know what goes on with him in SmackDown, but unfortunately, I don't get to see all of it firsthand. But I have my thoughts for another day. Well, Why did this have a somber end? Because I don't like guys getting hurt. That's why it had a somber end. But what's going to be more of a somber end than anything else is when you have all these AEW guys and gals standing in the ring, celebrating, having their moment, and making money, and everybody else is standing on the sidelines by the announce table, on the other side of the barricade, or even on the hardest part of the ring, on the hardest part of the ring, ba-da-ba-da,